Greetings everyone, I'm Adam Haritan. Welcome to the woods of Pennsylvania. Right now I'm exploring a forest in search of mushrooms and other fungi, and I'm seeing all different kinds of fungi, including Russula mushrooms. I'm seeing lots of northern tooth mushrooms growing on dead sugar maples. I'm seeing a choice edible mushroom known as Hericium coralloides, which is a lion's mane relative, and I'm finding bolites of all kinds. Now bolites as a group of mushrooms are rather easy to identify. Generally speaking, these fungi grow terrestrially and they form mycorrhizal associations with various trees. Typically, bolites have cushiony caps, and on the undersides of these caps, typically bolites have pores. Now, of course, exceptions exist for everything that I just said, but generally speaking, many bolites share those features. And what's great about bolites is that many of them are edible, and some of them are choice edible mushrooms. Now, of course, before harvesting any wild mushroom and eating it, I strongly encourage you to learn the exact species of that fungus and learn whether it's edible or not. But with a lot of bolite mushrooms, many of them are edible, so a lot of people get excited finding these mushrooms. Now today, I'm finding an interesting bolite. This bolite is problematic for many people, and what I mean by that is some people get very sick eating this mushroom, and the bolite that I'm finding is this one right here. And I've actually got two of them. This is a bolite that is aptly named the lilac brown bolite, Sartorius eximius. This is a medium to large sized bolite with lilac and brownish colors. And I typically find this mushroom growing in association with eastern hemlocks. Almost every single time I find this mushroom, I am in an eastern hemlock forest, and that's the kind of forest I'm exploring today. Now, some people do find this mushroom growing in association with other trees, including oaks, but personally, I've only really found this mushroom growing in association with eastern hemlocks. And this is a mycorrhizal fungus, so it's forming a mycorrhizal association with the eastern hemlocks. So as I said, this is a medium to large size bolite mushroom. It's got a cushiony cap that's lilac to brownish colored, somewhat reddish brownish colored. On the underside of the cap, you will see a pore surface that's kind of dingy colored. It's brownish, yellowish brown to chocolate brownish. The stalk of this mushroom, or the stipe of this mushroom, is rather distinctive. It's got these scales on it that give it a very textured appearance. And the spore print of this mushroom is brown. Now, when I learned the lilac brown bolite, I think it was 10 years ago, I learned that it's toxic. Do not eat this mushroom. Now, I also learned that I'm not gonna die if I eat this mushroom, but I'll just get very, very sick. A lot of GI distress, gastrointestinal distress, vomiting, nausea, all that stuff. Stuff that I don't want to experience if I can avoid it. And of course I want to avoid that kind of experience. So I'm not going to eat this mushroom because that's what I've been told, that it will do that to my body. But what's interesting is that every year people do eat the lilac brown bolite and they don't experience any GI distress. And to them, it's a good edible mushroom. What's even more interesting is that in at least one field guide, a popular field guide put out by the National Audubon Society decades ago, this mushroom was listed as a good edible species. And even before that, this mushroom was recommended for eating. Over the years, however, field guides started recommending against the consumption of the lilac brown bolite. So in the Bassett's mushrooms of northeastern North America, the lilac brown bolite is not recommended. And although it's listed as an edible species in several field guides, this mushroom, according to the Bassett's book, has caused severe gastric distress for some individuals. In the book, Mushrooms and Other Fungi of North America by Roger Phillips, the lilac brown bolite is listed as edible with caution because a case of poisoning has been reported. On the Bolite filter, which is a website that helps you identify bolite mushrooms, under edibility, this mushroom is listed as one to avoid. When we look at a summary of the poisoning reports in the NAMA, or the North American Mycological Association's Mushroom Poisoning Case Registry, this mushroom has been implicated in a few toxicity reports, and in all of these reports, Sartorius eximius, the lilac brown bolite, was well cooked, but it still caused problems with the people who consume this mushroom. Now, the lilac brown bolite apparently just doesn't grow here in the northeastern United States and in Canada. Supposedly, it also grows in Costa Rica, in China, in Japan. And in China, this mushroom is listed officially as a mushroom that is edible. So what's going on here? How is this mushroom poisoning lots of people here in the northeastern United States? It's not poisoning everybody. And apparently in China, this mushroom is listed as an edible species. Well, newer research has shown that this mushroom probably represents a species complex of at least 8 different species. So the one that I'm finding here growing in association with hemlocks is likely to be the true Sartorius eximius. But in other parts of the world, especially in Asia, it's probably a different species. So perhaps that explains why people in China list this as a mushroom that is edible and able to be consumed without any problems. Or perhaps here in the United States, this mushroom is the same species all across the board throughout the northeastern United States into Canada. And some people can tolerate it, and most people cannot tolerate it. And to my knowledge, no toxins have been isolated from this fungus and studied, so I don't think we know exactly what's going on, but it seems that for a lot of people, there are GI irritants in this species. Now, it might be the case that cooking has something to do with it, and the way that you cook it has something to do with the edibility or toxicity of these species. But remember, in that NAMA poisoning report, I mentioned that in all the cases that were reported for this mushroom, all the people reported that they cooked this mushroom well. As I mentioned earlier, I've never eaten the lilac brown bolete, Sartorius eximius, and I've no plans to anytime soon or at all in my lifetime. And because of that, I obviously cannot recommend that you eat this mushroom either. And because nearly every single field guide that's put out today or in the past 10 to 20 years has steered people away from eating this mushroom, I'm going to steer you away from eating it and say that it's not recommended for consumption. Now, am I personally not giving this mushroom a fair chance? Maybe, who knows, but there's so many other edible mushrooms out there, so many opportunities to forage choice edible mushrooms, especially today. I'm even seeing chanterelles today, I forgot to mention that earlier. So I'm going to leave this one behind and look for those mushrooms instead. But this mushroom is definitely worth learning, studying, and appreciating. It's always a good day when you're exploring an eastern hemlock forest. So hope you learned something watching this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.